I'm Lindsay Lomas.
Lindsay Lomas.
I'm Lindsay.
Lindsay Lomas.
My name's Lindsay Lomas. Okay, so you probably know my name by now. I'm Lindsay Lomas. I'm a 17-year-old singer-songwriter signed with Altadena and Warner Records. I just put out a new EP and I wanted to pay tribute to some women in the music business that have inspired me. I've done it in a series called Into You. It's been a crazy ride so far and I hope you stick around to follow my journey. This is episode 1, JoJo.
Don't worry your problems, then just make it wait. Slow motion.
Hi JoJo!
Hey, Lindsay!
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm so excited.
Me too.
We have a song coming out together, a music video. Oh my gosh. And I have to say, you're a huge inspiration to me, so for you to do all of this means the world. Thank you so much.
Girl, it's nothing. You're amazing. I'm happy to be a part of this with you, and you're just getting started, and I'm just excited to be on this journey.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to start by asking you about your upbringing. I know you were born and raised in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, I was actually born in Vermont, but I don't have any memories of Vermont. We were just they just happened to be there at the hospital, and then so I was raised all throughout New England, mostly south of Boston, and then my dad was in Nashville, New Hampshire. But I'm an East Coast girl, and
that's awesome.
My upbringing was pretty musical, just in the sense that both my parents were always listening to music.
I was gonna say they're pretty musically inclined as well, right?
Yeah, my dad was like more kind of a blues brother type. You know, he would like pull out the guitar and the harmonica and had a very bluesy influenced voice. And then my mom was more of a soprano singer, like operatic and Catholic church hymns and stuff like that. And I was just surrounded by all different types of music.
Yeah, how did having parents who enjoyed music like that and different styles as well influence the music that you created and the music that you listened to growing up?
I think it was such a gift that they gave me of musical diversity, because Joni Mitchell and James Taylor are just as much of my personal musical makeup as D'Angelo and Erykah Badu.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I just think that it's really great to listen to great music from across genres, because greatness doesn't have a genre. But so it was really cool. Like my mom and I would try to sing like my mom, and my dad and I would take car rides together and harmonize. So music was just another form of expression. But I remember asking you on the video shoot, because I was like, did your parents, do you come from a musical family? Because that was just my instinct. You're so amazing, you must come from that. And I was really taken aback to realize that you're kind of the first in your family.
Yeah, I mean, they both appreciate music so much. And obviously we live in Nashville, and so I grew up going to live shows because they loved seeing live music, but they never really played aside from my mom playing a little bit of guitar. And yeah, I think it is just, for me, the city kind of raised me in that way, and being constantly around other musicians who are actually doing it kind of showed me like, oh wait, I can actually do this too.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely inspiring to me. But I want to say, you mentioned Joni Mitchell, an incredible songwriter. When did you sort of go from singing to songwriting? When did you dive into the songwriting world, and how did that help with processing emotions and feelings and thoughts as you were growing up?
Man, Joni is one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and I actually have a picture of her right there. That's her, and I think that's her and James Taylor on
no way.
I just love that picture of them in the studio.
That's amazing.
They were home. And when did I go from? Well, I've been singing as long as I can remember, and I started writing songs. I started writing like poetry, and I was probably just inspired by my mom. Always took me to the library. We utilized our public library so much, and she would read to me constantly, and I loved the way I loved beautiful sentences. I loved things that really that evoked my senses and images in my mind, and that was very inspiring to me. I don't remember exactly when I started, but on my first album that I wrote when I was 12, that was I had a song called Keep On Keepin' On. That was the first song I had written that was published. It wasn't the first song that I had written, but it's still a big milestone for me because I wrote it by myself and just kind of trusted my gut, and that's so much of songwriting, you know what I mean, is trusting yourself.
Of course. I love how you blended those two worlds together. I think that's amazing. And at such a young age. So you put out your first album when you were 13 years old, which is a baby. I mean, that's crazy. And you racked up so many records and accomplished so much, like becoming the youngest solo artist to have a #1 single for your song Leave Get Out, which such a jam to this day. I love it so much.
But you were like literally born when that came out, which is so weird. Like unbelievable. So
that is weird. Yeah, it's crazy, but I still discovered it and loved it so much. And you were singing about, I mean, such mature things, and I feel like I did the same thing when I was younger as well. And just as artists, you kind of almost observe the world, and I wrote about that kind of stuff. And so I definitely hear that in your early stuff, and it's really cool to me. But what was it like accomplishing such big dreams at that young of an age, and how were you able to process everything? Because I can imagine that would be really crazy to process.
I think I've processed more of it in hindsight, you know, because like in the moment I was just like, woo, hell yeah, I'm living my dreams. It's about time. I'm, 13 and I've been singing since I was 2 years old. So by 13 I was like, oh God, finally, I'm successful.
I love that.
Because I don't know, I was just an old soul and very precocious. But what was that like? I mean, I thought I was grown, but I had not even gotten my period yet, hadn't been kissed, had no responsibility other than to literally do what I love. And I'm really thankful that my mom was so close to my hip, that I was on her hip pretty much through that whole thing. She was managing me, and we were doing everything together, because there's so many opportunities to be taken advantage of as a human being in the music industry, and even more so as a young girl. And my mom really kept me away from those things, away from any predatorial, things and people. So I'm grateful in hindsight, but in the moment I was so friggin' mad, because I was like, I wanted to go out, I wanted to be around my peers, but all my peers were so much older than me. So it felt a little isolating, but it also was like absolutely incredible to be traveling the world, living my dream, performing all the time, and having that, like, experience is the best education, in my opinion.
Of course, I agree. Yeah, that's amazing. Did you ever use the term Mommager?
We hated that term. I don't know, but yes, we did use the term Mommager.
Totally. That's exactly what I used as well, as a joke with my mother.
Yeah. When we were what we didn't like was stage mom. That was a big one back then, because she's not a stage mom, but she was a Mommager. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, of course. I mean, she's taking care of you and all that. It must feel great to have that connection with her.
Yeah.
So, in 2006, you released your second album and 2 feature films. You were doing it all at 16, almost as old as I am now. The album was a top 5 Billboard Hot 100 hit. I mean, hearing those words must be insane. I feel like most kids that age are in high school and going out with friends and getting their driver's license, and you were spending a lot of your time on sets and in sessions and doing promo and all this very mature stuff. And how did you handle that? I imagine that there were some people in your life that were trying to, tell you what to wear, what to do, how to say, like what to say or how to act. And was that your case, or were you able to be your own person? And at 16, are you connected to who you are as a person yet? It must be hard to even know who you are internally at that age yet.
I think it's a little bit impossible to know. Well, let me reconsider that, because we're going to continuously evolve and change. And who we are at 16 is true, And you're going to shed that skin and be someone else at 21 and at 25 and so on. Like, I think we'll continue to be different expressions of ourselves. But all those things that you mentioned that 16-year-olds were doing, I was also doing that, you know? I was hanging out with friends. I was dating for the first time. I was getting my driver's license and experiencing that type of freedom that I really wanted. And, but I wasn't going to a regular school. Like, I was tutored at home, like a private distance learning program. And also I was on the road a lot. So learning like remotely, I think that's the term. And, but yeah, there were a lot of people who were feeding me what I should be doing or wearing or whatever, but it didn't feel like out of integrity for me because I was very much in the process.
Of course, yeah.
We're working with a stylist, and I'm thankful. I didn't feel like overly sexualized in my image or anything. I didn't feel like I was doing something. I actually wanted to be like more sexy, but
right.
But I had no reference point to that. I don't know why I wanted that, but I just wanted to feel grown because, again, nobody my age was really. I just felt kind of separate. So I was a little embarrassed about my age. But when I look back, my sense of self was very much related to my achievement, and to like the attention. And that's not healthy for anybody, let alone a teenager.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like in this world as well with social media and everything, I think so many kids are feeling that pressure.
I know.
Regardless of what you're doing, whether you're doing music or whatever, there's all eyes on you. And so it's kind of nerve-wracking, and I don't think any kid should really have to base their self-worth on that image.
Girl, you're so right. I think that now more than ever, everybody can relate to that, of feeling like, unfortunately, their self-worth is tied to likes and comments, and it feels like one big popularity contest or one big comparison game. That is so bad for us. It's so bad for our psyche, our development, and just our happiness.
Totally. And I feel like as women, there can be a lot of pressure for us to almost get competitive with one another, especially in this industry, especially with social media. I feel like there can be this jealousy of someone else's career and where they're at. So how do you personally rise above that pressure and not get jealous of where someone else is at in their career?
Sometimes I sink into that, like I can't front. Sometimes I don't rise above, but I allow myself those moments, and then as thoughts come in, I've just started to be more aware of those thoughts. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? You see those thoughts and you're like,
right.
Could I perhaps choose another thing to think about? Could I perhaps choose to think about that the fact that everybody's journey is different? Everybody's road to success, everybody's success will manifest differently, and you never really know what somebody's going through. Social media is just a highlight reel of that which we choose to share, and you don't really know what, I don't think that you can speak about true success without speaking about happiness and peace and contentment and all those things, and we don't know what somebody is really going through. So
you're so right.
I try to keep blinders on and focus on celebrating the commitments that I keep to myself, the little victories, the personal, like the little improvements, even if it's like
amazing.
Those things are.
That's what matters. Yeah, that's what matters over anything else is your personal happiness. I agree. I think that defines success. But yeah, and even as far as, confidence, social media can really completely paralyze your confidence. Yeah. And I definitely feel that. And so this may be more of like a personal question than for the interview, but I feel like as girls, again, we have this huge pressure to look a certain way and to wear certain things. And I saw on Instagram that you are a Savage X Fenty ambassador, and you look so badass, so confident and stunning, and you just look so confident and, feel good in your skin, and I can see the happiness from even just those pictures. And so, do you ever struggle with confidence? And if so, how do you get past that? How do you get past the feeling of comparing yourself to other people? And even growing up, I mean, obviously now it's one thing, but growing up in that spotlight, how did you deal with feeling, you know, not confident?
I was always a confident little girl, and I think that my confidence kind of waned as I got later into my teenage years and started to engage more in that comparison game that was either put on me or just that it's kind of the nature of our society. Is to particularly pit women against each other and be like, oh, who wore it best? Whose body looks better? Who's whatever. And it's just so whack. But how do I deal with it? Well, as far as the savage stuff, I just think it's so cool what Rihanna is doing. It's celebrating all different types of womanhood and of saying, you know, you can feel cute and sexy and all these things for yourself. It doesn't need to be for someone else. Like in getting ready in quarantine every day, I've learned that taking care of myself is a form of respect for myself. You know what I mean? Having lovely things, liking the way that I smell, you know, liking all these different things. It's like, I didn't realize that that's what it was. And that's kind of how I feel about wearing nice pieces of lingerie or whatever. And I started getting into that stuff actually when I was around 17. I just like really started to enjoy that.
That's a funny realization.
It's a little secret.
But
I'm not always confident, and I do think that because I came up in a time where it was more normal to talk about body image. Like, I don't know if you remember when Jessica Simpson was like dragged through the mud for a picture of her that was on stage, and she was a size 4. Okay. Whoa. Wow, that's so
still
small.
So small.
That's so small. And she was like, they were like, she looks terrible, blah, blah, blah. So I was coming up in that time. And there was no way not to be impacted by that. It was like, oh, God forbid, you know, a piece of skin goes over your jean. Like,
insane.
So there's have to been some untraining about that. But I'm thankful that in 2020, we don't live in that environment anymore. Like, we're dismantling that.
We're celebrating those different body types instead of pushing them down. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and healthiness and happiness and vitality and sexiness and flyness, like that it's not one look. It can look so many different ways. So I'm just so grateful for the way the tides are turning.
Yeah, I'm sure that definitely helps be able to show your confidence on that platform as well.
Yeah.
By 2007, you were 17, my age. You had an amazing acting career as well. You were in Aquamarine and RV and several different TV shows, which were huge movies. And I'm sure you get this a lot, but I was obsessed with Aquamarine.
Oh, you were?
I'm like embarrassed to admit it, but my friends and I loved that movie. I even like dyed my hair like the mermaid.
That is so precious. Oh, Lindsay, I love that.
And my family and I rewatched RV the other day, and we were like, it's just such a good movie. And it must be so incredible to have those memories of being on set with these amazing actors. And I feel like as a young girl at the time, switching from music to acting, obviously you were still deeply in your music career. Did people ever really doubt your acting abilities? I mean, how does one pursue both music and acting at the same time, coming from such a successful music career at that young of an age?
It's a great question. Yeah, I was definitely doubted. And that's okay. Like,
You still did it.
I had been acting since I was really young, though, actually. Like, I did theater in Boston from the age of 6 years old. I did commercials, all that stuff. So I was kind of an all-around, like, entertainer kid. You know,
it wasn't like a switch.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily just some new endeavor, but it was the first time being on a big set like that, working with someone, you know, working under those conditions and expectations, I guess. So I learned a lot, and I didn't take it as seriously as somebody who really wanted to pursue a career in acting, because music was always my main love, and something that's what I really wanted to be taken seriously in. So that's why I put all my eggs in that basket. And that's why, like, during the time where I was in a lawsuit with my former record label and I wasn't able to put out music, people have asked, you know, why didn't you dive into acting? Why didn't you pursue that? I was so hung up on music and on the fact that I was like being silenced, I couldn't focus on anything else.
I'm sure.
As much as I enjoyed acting and still, you know, would love to do cool projects, music is just who I am.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing that you knew that at such a young age too, because I feel like being on big sets like that could almost persuade people who were doubting which one they wanted to do more.
I never
and
doubted.
you're like, oh, I'm being treated like a star, I should go do this. But really, you knew deep down that music was your love and that you wanted to do that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just such a natural extension of me, and it's not about fame or it's not about like money. So if it were that, I would have made a lot of different decisions with my life and career if it were about attention or fame or money. It's about love.
Yeah, you gotta have priorities. That's amazing. So speaking of that horror story, there are a lot of other horror stories about the music business. And as a young woman entering that industry, it can be really scary. And you started so young, went through your fair share of struggles, obviously, like you just mentioned. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What inspired you to keep going, and how did you work through that emotionally while also building up your career? And what advice would you offer to me or someone else who's going into this industry, with that?
Wow. Let's see.
It's a loaded question. It's loaded.
It is something that you just have to take one day at a time. Like whatever industry any person decides to get involved in or ends up involved in, it's going to have its ups and downs. It's going to have its peaks and valleys, its disappointments and its amazingness. But I think what is most important is that you don't allow yourself to be consumed by anything.
Yeah.
You have to keep a foundation of what's important to you and who you are and why you're doing it, because if you are doing it for those things that I was talking about, for fame and money and attention, then you can really get toggled around, or it's much easier to lose yourself as opposed to when your intention is pure. And but the advice that I would give you or anybody who's coming into this industry, this experience, is don't allow anybody to tell you who you are.
Right.
And you get to define that. And you are the artist in the literal sense, and in the sense that your life is your canvas.
Totally.
You can make it look however you want. And your path will look, different from the next person. So I would encourage you to keep blinders on and to be in competition only with yourself, and not to a point of analysis paralysis, but to the point where you're always going to want to improve. And I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Agreed.
And take it one day at a time, I think, is just good life advice in general. That's some of the best advice I've received, like from my mom, is just one day at a time.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's really good to hear you say that as well, because I'm obviously very inspired by you, and not only you as the incredible artist you are and all the heights that you've achieved, but just as a person, and to see that you are this genuine and happy at where you are is really inspiring for me, knowing that I'm getting into all of this, and I want to, my main success is to be happy with the work that I create.
Ooh. You make such wonderful music with such depth to it, and I don't worry about you at all. Like, I just know you're already great. You're gonna continue to be, and at 17 you already have what I perceive to be such a great head on your shoulders, and you're not gonna get thrown around because you won't be allured by things, you know, it'll be in your integrity. And yeah, I mean, perspective is everything, you know. Sometimes you need to shift your perspective and realize how much you have to be grateful for. That even though things might get hard, that living this life, making music for a living, psh,
Yeah.
what?
Just getting to do what you love every day.
What a gift.
Is the most incredible feeling in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so important. Well, also, so I wanted to say you started your own record label, Clover Music. Amazing. I mean, what was that like? What was the process of doing that, and what led you to that decision? What challenges did you face?
After what I had experienced with, you know, labels prior, I was like, fuck labels. So I was like,
Right.
I was considering going the independent route because there's no reason why not to. There's an argument on both sides. You know, there's a case to be made for partnering with a major or signing directly to a major, going independent, or doing what I did, which is having a joint venture. So Clover Music is my label. Here's my little Clover right there.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
And I'm in partnership with Warner, and I decided to do that because of my relationship with Aaron Bashak, who's the president of Warner. And if it weren't for our belief in each other, for his unwavering belief in me, and for just our amazing professional creative relationship, I probably would have gone independent because I was like, I'm over this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate my relationship, and also the ownership. Having ownership was incredibly important to me at this point in my career. I'm 29, and it was time. I mean, I've paid my dues beyond, so it just felt like appropriate.
Yeah, I have to also shout out Aaron Bashak because he made this happen.
Yes, he did. He sent me the song and made me aware of you, and I was like, who is this girl? She's awesome. So we love Aaron.
Thank you. Yeah, he's the best. So grateful. So
another thing that I wanted to say about starting a label is that eventually my intention is to be able to sign other artists.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I'm not in a rush to take on that responsibility if I am not 100% sure that I can really provide the type of service and relationship to that person that they deserve, because I've been, you know, disappointed, I've been let down, and I've also been really happy. So I'd rather give them everything that they deserve. And right now I'm really focused on myself.
yeah, but I think that's so amazing to, as you grow your career, be able to start different worlds like that. I mean, you've been on all sides of the industry, like you said, the good and the bad, so you know exactly what you want and what you want for other people. And so I think that's amazing to be able to give it back like that. It's so important.
I aspire to be able to give it back, so I hope. And something that is really gratifying for me is being able to, you know, develop friendships with, you know, younger artists like yourself, or even with, you know, peers, like, I mean, people that I came up with that are more around my age, and just have more shared experiences, or just talk about music or the industry or just life. I get so much from it, and also if I can impart anything, any wisdom or just any words about my experiences, I hope that maybe it could be of some type of help to somebody else.
I can already tell you that it's already helping me, so thank you. So you just released your amazing album, Good to Know. I have to say I've been listening to it so much. I listened to it while I was getting ready this morning, and it just gives me all of the most incredible feelings. I mean, it makes me feel like a boss.
Ooh,
and makes
good.
me feel like JoJo.
Good, I did my job.
And you also just released a deluxe album, and it features Demi Lovato. I mean, that must have been insane. And I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, such an amazing woman feature. I mean, it's just two badass women doing it. And I wanted to ask, do you feel that you've come out of the other side? You know, you had a really bad industry experience. How do you feel creating this new album and releasing this new, you know, JoJo to the world?
I'm definitely on the other side.
Oh yeah.
There's no even, I don't even see what that was. So it feels great to have made it out of the dark. I mean, everybody,
Yes.
you know, life is not just a smooth sail. So,
Of course.
I'm really grateful that resilience is one of the things that I think defines me and makes being on this side even sweeter. You know, every victory just tastes so delicious, and every collaboration is so meaningful, because for a long time I wasn't able to put out music. I wasn't able to get approval to collaborate with people. That's why I'm going crazy this year. That's why I'm like, you get a feature and you get a feature and you get a feature. Because I'm just having so much fun, you know, playing.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's the exciting part is, I mean, I love as a fan seeing artists collaborate.
Me
and
too.
I think it's so cool, especially to see you doing that with such incredible people, and I know it must be so fun for
It's
you.
fun. You know how it is. I mean, it's so cool, especially when you, like, you know, you wrote Slowmotion, and it must have been interesting to hear me singing those lyrics. And that's how I felt when I heard Demi singing my lyrics to Lonely Hearts. I was like,
I'm sure.
the way she interpreted, you know, and the choices she made, and it's very satisfying. And, it's just fun. It's so fun.
Oh man, when I got your Slowmotion vocals back, I definitely may have teared up a bit. It was just it is so surreal. I mean, to see someone like you that I look up to and who is just so incredible, and you've paved your own way through the industry. To hear you on those vocals, I broke. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Even when I'm talking to people that I'm working with and we're talking about the feature and whatever, I don't believe it still.
I know what you mean.
I'm still like, really? Wait, JoJo's on my song? Can you say that one more time?
I know what you mean. I've been there. Sometimes it's just like, whoa, life is just, you never know how things are going to happen, and it's so cool.
It's so special, yeah. So I also wanted to ask, this is my last question, but I wanted to ask, how do you separate yourself from JoJo the person and JoJo the artist?
Because I don't have that protective, like, shield of putting on an act. You know what I'm saying? Like, pretty much, I'm me all the time.
See what you get, yeah.
So, pretty much, I wear my heart on my sleeve.
I love it.
I'm ready to sing at any moment. I'm ready to be totally transparent. But, let's see, how do I separate? Because it's not like I turn on. I'm kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of just, but.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
can almost I can see that in your artistry as well. I mean, you are so genuine, and even talking to you like on set of filming Slowmotion, and also just now having a conversation or whatever, it's just you are the person that you show yourself to the world as, and I think people can tell when someone's faking it.
I think so too.
Yeah, so it's cool to see you being 100% yourself, and that there isn't like a switch on and off, that you are JoJo in both worlds.
But I think in that being the case, there are things that are important to do to make sure that you can protect your force field or protect your piece. I actually have this tattoo in white right there. Oh no, you can't see. You can just see my scars. But PYP, which stands for protect your piece, and that's just something that I try to remind myself of. There's a lot of things that could come in and compromise your piece, or you know that are scary, that are disturbing, and I journal. I get out my thoughts. I see them on paper, and I meditate, and I read like a lot of self-help and spiritual books and things like that help me to discern what I should give my energy to, what I should worry about, which is really nothing, because what are you really going to do? Like, worry doesn't change anything. But that's what I try to remind myself of, and like when I find myself getting off
because it
track.
can be stressful when you are completely yourself as the artist, because you're so vulnerable that if you get criticism or whatnot, it doesn't just touch your artistry. There's no shield there. It is you.
You're
you know,
absolutely right. It's like, oh, you don't like me. Like,
yeah, as a person.
As a person, right. And that's
exactly.
it's, but I try to remind myself also, and I'm sure you understand, you know, I mean, I just, you are so wise beyond your years, but I know that you already know this, that like, we are not pizza. Not everybody's gonna like us, you know?
Totally.
Most people like pizza. I mean, we're just not, we can't please everybody. Different strokes for different folks. Some people don't like Beyonce. Like, what's wrong with you? But some people don't. So if some people don't like Beyonce, I don't take anything personally.
I don't care. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it, actually. Thank you for that perspective.
But I wanna ask you what everybody must be thinking. How do you get your lashes to look like that, Lindsay? What?
Thank you. Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. I just
they're yours?
Mascara. There's this thing I use called.
Is it Grande Lash or Latisse?
Yes, Grande Lash MD.
Oh, okay. Now I gotta get on that because wow, your lashes look incredible.
Thank you. Wow.
You're glowing.
So funny. Thank you. That means a lot. JoJo just said my lashes looked good.
Your lashes are lit.
I feel like on top of the world right now. Well, JoJo, thank you so much for doing this. Truly, it means the world. I feel like I've learned so much about you, not only as the artist JoJo, but the person who you are. So thank you for doing this with me and taking the time. It means so much.
You are a treasure, and I'm so excited for people to hear our song.
I can't wait.
For this to be over so we can perform it together.
Yes! Oh, I'm so ready for that. Amazing. Thank you, JoJo.
Gonna buy a